What's happening, guys? Rolandas here. In this video we're gonna analyze yet another case of one of my subscribers, specifically to find out how exactly he can regain his hair back. I'll analyze his balding pattern, family history of baldness and how it can affect him, what he can expect from hair loss medications, is he even a suitable candidate for hair transplant surgery, and what is the optimal hair transplant strategy for his case. So if that sounds exciting to you, stay until the end. Click that subscribe button under this video if you don't want to miss any future videos just like this one. And if you want me to analyze your case just like in this video, make sure to check out in the description down below. I'm gonna leave all the information needed for you to apply. This guy is 28 years old and his father is Norwood 5. He doesn't take any medications at all and his hair loss has been progressing for the last 6 years. At least that's what he said.
Wow, that is really hard. You really think you can go all day long? Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so...
That's what she said!
So he sent me these pictures and his messages basically through Instagram, which is not perfect. So if you, by the way, considering sending me your pictures for me to assess your case, make sure to send them on my email address in the description down below. So I blurred his face, of course, to preserve his privacy. And let's have a look at the pictures. So frontal fur is pretty much gone. There is zero hairline, a little tiny forelock, just exactly actually like I had in the beginning stages of my hair loss. But looks like mid-scalp is really strong, and in general there is not like much thinning going on. This is straight away you can tell is a variation of Norwood pattern. So whether it's Norwood 2, Norwood 3, Norwood 4, Norwood 5 is going to be a variation. This is a letter A in the end. Alright, this is really nice picture, pulled his hair back to see the actual case. And usually people are receding just from the, corners over here to become like a Norwood 3, but in his case, he's a Norwood 3A probably, again, from looking from this angle, because he doesn't have much like hair left in the central forelock over here as well. So basically the whole front is going back. These areas, these corners of a Norwood 3, they're like slick bald, there is nothing. So regardless of you're gonna be a super hyper responder to any medications, it's just impossible to regrow anything in there. It's too late. So the only option is really transplant. All of these hairs, miniaturized hairs, could benefit greatly, from medications. Aha! So he has some miniaturization in the crown as well. And by the way, if you believe this information is great and really valuable, make sure to hit that like button so more people can be able to find this video and get this information for themselves as well. Don't keep everything to yourself. His hair is really long, but the mid-scalp extremely strong. But the crown looks actually quite big. So I would expect his mid-scalp to stay basically for life pretty strong, even without taking any medication at all. The side view, of course, confirms that his mid-scalp is pretty strong. And it looks like actually he has a little bit of retrograde alopecia. And actually vast majority of people will have certain degree of retrograde alopecia, believe it or not. So this is not a reason to be extremely concerned, but it's just basically overall decreases your donor supply, because you cannot really take hairs from around, around the ears over here and from this area. Other than that, his donor area outlined just pretty much all over, this area is actually really strong, and which is a great sign. Yeah, on another side, again, visible retrograde, but the rest of the area is pretty strong and actually viable for a hair transplant, whether it's FE or FET. Another thing I want to mention is these temple peaks. They're really gone. Almost like a straight line became, and there's some miniaturization plus a retrograde. So this is not ideal, and of course medications will not likely to regrow much, if any. They might strengthen the existing areas definitely. So of course when the transplant will be considered, the temple peaks, I would say, would be pretty much mandatory if you want to achieve really nice hair transplant result, to structure properly your face. The bad news, the crown is severely thinning. The good news though, that you still have quite a lot of hairs that if you start medication like Finasteride and Minoxidil, all of this area will get a really great boost. And actually crown is the best responder for any hair loss medications. And again, mid-scalp looks really strong, which is a plus. The crown does not dip really low. And it's also a really great sign. For example, in my case, I'm Norwood 5A, and my crown as a Norwood 5 is not dipping much as well. It looks pretty much actually the same. Maybe even this guy probably has better crown. So it looks like the donor area in the occipital area on the occipital bone is really wide. So again, this will give you more grafts, you know, to play with, basically, to implant on the front. Yeah, there is slight retrograde at the back as well, but nothing severe, to be honest. It's pretty normal, and almost nobody has a, you know, perfect, like a super low, thick, like kind of, you know, area where's the neck. And usually it's not being used for transplant anyways, especially for people, you know, with the retrograde alopecia. But yeah, overall the donor looks really healthy and really strong, and definitely can grade quite a good amount of, you know, hairs just even from this area. Oh, this is a really nice picture. Really appreciate sending such pictures. A lot of grafts per centimeter square, which he can obviously take advantage of when, you know, doing surgery. Whether it's again FET or FE, it's gonna be a huge plus. Just look at it. Look how many grafts. Imagine he can take 50% from overall density. And if it's, let's say, FE, and if it's done really well, strategically, with a great extraction, you know, pattern, leaving just enough space in between extractions, his density overall will not change dramatically, if anything, to be honest, like a visible density I'm talking about, with a little bit of length. And he can get so many grafts, so yeah, good for him. Like, donor looks really good. So if we're talking about medication, obviously Finasteride is a must for every single person who is suffering from male pattern baldness. And in his case, he can save quite a lot of hairs actually, especially if we're talking about the crown. And combining it with Minoxidil, the crown actually can recover pretty substantially, to the point that maybe he would even not need to do any transplant at all in that area. But again, not everyone is a hyper responder, and the best way to find out is basically to try it. So my suggestion is not to rush into hair transplant, and try Finasteride and Minoxidil for at least 6 months, better 12 months, and see how you're gonna respond to it. I wouldn't expect, you know, the hairline area, the frontal third, to regrow much, if any, because most of it is already pretty much bald. A little bit in the foreleg would definitely benefit from a boost. Like I said, since his father is Norwood 5, I don't expect him to progress any further than Norwood 5. To be honest, if he would decide to jump on Finasteride and stay for it for many years, and he would likely to stay like that. And if you are in doubt by any chance of how long Finasteride can work, check out the, you know, video over here in the top right corner where I discussed and I checked the 10-year study of Finasteride, and it's actually pretty encouraging. So of course, if he wants to regain his hairline, the only option would be a hair transplant. The great news is he has an excellent donor, minus of course slight retrograde, you know, around the ears and, you know, on the nape of the neck. But nonetheless, he has a really great, you know, amount of grafts. I would eyeball something really rough, estimate 6,000 grafts, maybe even more. He would need to be assessed properly, but nonetheless, he doesn't even need this many grafts to cover. I would eyeball all of this area would need 3,500 grafts. Pretty much something similar to what I had on my first transplant. And this would only rebuild the whole frontal third, not talking about the temple peaks. Since we established his temple peaks are pretty much gone as well, he would definitely need to rebuild those. In his case, it depends to which surgeon he will go, how aggressive they are. And I would say it would not be unreasonable to recreate the temple peak, something similar to this. It would require, in his case, something about 200-300 grafts in each side. It's not going to be a huge amount, and it's not going to be super dense, but the temple peaks doesn't have to be super dense in order to structure it. And the hairline, again, depends on the surgeon. From this particular view, he could easily go something like that. And, you know, it would not be super low, it would not be super straight, but it would look great, to be honest. So altogether, talking about frontal third and the temple peaks, probably around 4,000 grafts, give or take. If we're looking from the frontal part, again, the temple peaks would be something like this. The hairline would be something like this.
Whoa! I'm a painter! That is one kind of artist!
Pretty reasonable, except my drawing skills. And if you look at that, it's really actually low, and I seriously doubt this guy would even want to go any lower. In my opinion, this would be the perfect, kind of like a hairline, perfect hair restoration, in this particular, you know, case. Again, it all depends to which surgeon he will go to. Some of them, they're more conservative. They will likely to go a little bit like, you know, higher, maybe something like this. And, you know, some of them, they will touch the temple peak. Some of them will not. It, again, really depends. And in my opinion, this yellow line would be actually appropriate, and actually it's possible, to be honest. And again, looking at his donor area, definitely. But he would definitely have to consider staying on a finasteride for many years to come, just in case. So for now, there are two options, whether it's going to be FUT or FE. I think he is a candidate for both of them, and again, it really depends which surgeon he's going to choose. I would suggest not to rush and do a lot of research on, you know, before choosing your hair transplant surgeon. And if you want to find out more info on like what to look for in a good hair transplant surgeon, make sure to check out this video over here. It's going to give you a lot of insights.